Past the Rings, volume 115. Today we're talking about Respire's breakout album, Dénouement! Or as I like to say it as I type it out, Dénouement, so I don't forget that extra E. So, this was released July 15th, 2018, on Zegema Records, Middleman Records, Narsharda Records, and Dingleberry Records. So kind of like the same players as last time, except Ozona is not in the picture anymore. And instead we have Edie from Middleman Records. So Edie came in for the second press of Gravity and Grace and kind of just was on the Respire train with all of us kind of after that for a little while until they got signed to a bigger label. But that's in the future, and will have its own Out Past the Rings because we did do tapes for that. But now I'm just getting way ahead. So this, wow, there's a lot of history for this. Not a lot of it I was really there for because I had just left to New Zealand essentially when they were kind of like beginning to write this album. So what part am I supposed to say next? There's too many chronological things here that I'm not really sure which one happens first. So there was a member switch essentially. Emmett had to took a step back to do his other band. He's like, I think, a pop punk band as well. So they were doing really well. He basically took a step back to do that. So there was an opening for the additional instrument in Respire. So I believe Eslin, the violinist from the previous album, basically was asked to step in and like do it full time, which she did, and it sounds really good. There was definitely a time I remember when they were like interchanging and like they didn't really have someone set, and there were times where I was like, oh, like it definitely you can hear that there was something missing. Even the first like show or two I saw with the violin, I was like, it's still, I don't know. And then they must have like practiced more because then everything all of a sudden clicked really well. And I remember seeing like Eternal Nothing live with the violin and no trumpet and just being like, oh, that's it, they have hit it. And this album captures all of that stuff where they're just on all the time. So it was a very cool switch. It definitely changed the band's sound. I don't really want to... I guess it got a little heavier because of it, and a little less... no, not less epic, just different epic, I would say. So in a way, I guess in two different ways, it kind of came together to create this album. You've got the European tour that they had slated for 2018, as well as some addiction problems from one of the members, and kind of like those two things, like the rehab and coming out of that, at the same time that they were kind of planning for the European tour, just injected a whole lot of emotion, inspiration, and one would assume like deadlines for the band as well. So I'm pretty sure there were quite a few times where it was pretty stressful trying to get all this stuff together. I was just the label helping out, so I didn't really notice any of that, but I'm pretty sure it's there if you ask them. Yeah, so the first press was done on 500 copies over 3 variants with a super nice booklet. Last time it was kind of like a poster that opened into a book. This is like a full-on proper booklet. Really, really nice. Really awesome stuff. So, you had 300 on clear red. Which was nice. You had 100 on red with black splatter, also quite nice. And then you had another 100 on the white with the red splatter. So all the variants are pretty sweet in my opinion. And then that press sold out, so we did another press, and that was on half red, half black. I believe there was just 300 of those ones made. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, I mean, when this album came out, it was very different from when Gravity and Grace came out. When Gravity and Grace came out, we were kind of like, here's this amazing album, and a couple people were like, hey, this album's amazing. While when Dénouement came out, it was kind of like, hey, guess what? This album's amazing. And like everyone was like, this album is such a game changer. And it was. But I thought Gravity and Grace was. So I just kind of feel like some people were late to the party on this one. But it's understandable. It's definitely a much bigger release than the previous one. I mean, Egan and Rohan and stuff were like on a million podcasts, doing interviews everywhere. I was very impressed with their DIY PR campaign that they put on. I really didn't have to do very much. They did a really good job of pushing this album and kind of telling people in different words, like this is amazing. Like I remember Egan and Rohan being on a podcast and talking about how they essentially composed a lot of the stuff, you know, like written down and stuff. Like I don't even know how you do that. So I remember the people on the podcast were quite impressed. So this is one of those things where they just explain honestly like how things happened, and everyone was like, wow. And you listen to the album, you're like, oh my lord. So this one had 8 tracks, generally shorter. I mean, there's no 8, 9, 10-minute tracks on this one. You've got 1 7-minute one, 1 6-minute one, and then you've got like a couple 4 and 5s, and a couple that are 2. So definitely, in general, a shorter album. You've got Bound, which is epic, Haunt, which is heavy, Shiver, which is like black metal with a pretty chill midsection. Bloom is the instrumental interlude. Catacombs is a very slow and brooding song with definitely the violin highlight that like breaks in halfway through and leads it to its very heavy conclusion. You've got Virtue, which is a very typical Respire track, not in a bad way, because typical Respire is fantastic. But this song could have shown up on Gravity and Grace, and I would have been like, it's definitely one of the better tracks from Gravity and Grace. Hearthstone Pines is the short banger on this one, less than 3 minutes. It doesn't sound like Waltz, but it reminds me of like, it's the Waltz of this album. The short banger. Should keep saying that over and over again. Maybe other people will believe me. And then you've got the finale, Dénouement, which is the instrumental close, also under 3 minutes. So the last thing to really point out here is the video that you saw at the beginning was what I call the Screamo Lottery, when at ZBR Fest the band had asked if Lisa, my partner, and I wanted to come to one of their practices to hear some of these songs. They had 3 of these songs in the midst of being done. No vocals, I don't think, I think one of the songs had a bit of vocals, but like otherwise it was, and some of them they didn't even have finished. This was also, it was supposed to play in the beginning, I forgot to say, the member switch, so like you could see that there was only 5 of them at the practice. Amazing time, truly one of the coolest things that I've had happen to me, especially like considering the band got a whole lot bigger afterwards. I mean, they were just the local Toronto band that had evolved from Fox Mulder into this like post-rock, post-hardcore, post-metal Screamo band. The post-everythings, if you will. So, very, very amazing. Like, I just thank you. Thank you to the members who invited Lisa and I out and just, you know, hung out with us and talked and let us record you playing your songs. And yeah, the 3 songs that they played were really awesome. I remember just being blown away. I don't remember I watched the videos. So I have a video of one of those songs. So why don't we close with that song.
Don't get it.